Welcome to the Growth Xperts Podcast. I'm your host, Derek Colin. In today's episode, we have a special guest. His name is Sunil Grover. He is the managing partner at G2C Ventures. How are you doing today, Sunil?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. Can you share a bit about your role and how it fits into the bigger picture over at G2C Ventures?
So, my role at G2C Ventures is working with our investors, working with our founders in helping source, select, and add value to generate the next generation of market leaders.
Awesome. And can you just give us a little background on, how you got started and what's your story?
So, my story, very beginning, engineering by training and business school by profession. Started my career in investment banking, doing IPOs and M&A transactions. Decided I was more of an engineer builder than a transaction guy. Built my first startup when the internet revolution was underway almost 20 years ago, very much like AI is transforming the world today. Internet was a new thing at that time, and built what became one of the first opportunity management systems for an industry on a SaaS multi-tenant platform. Once I was able to exit that business with a good outcome, I switched into investing and advising other founders, and that naturally led to spending more time earlier in the companies in the investing side. So 2021, after several successful exits through investments, we organized our first early stage venture capital fund focused on enterprise AI, and now we are launching Fund 2.
Awesome. So when it comes to, AI, what major shifts are you seeing in your industry right now?
I think, as you can imagine, the world is changing very fast. Anthropic is on the verge of going IPO. SpaceX IPO, if you look through the top line, talks about Grok, their AI engine, as being the biggest growth focus. So when you look at AI, the entire technology stack, all the way from the chips that NVIDIA makes to the middleware to the LLM models to the vertical applications that engineers build and the business use cases, all of that is getting fundamentally transformed.
Yeah. And then from a consumer standpoint, the LLMs, that seems to be growing rapidly. There's more and more users, using these platforms every day. Is there a specific, investment thesis or criteria that you look for, specific industries when it comes to, making the right decision as to what you believe is transformative economic standpoint or for the user? What do you look for when you're looking at these industries when you want to kind of say this is something we want to target?
Yeah, so G2C, in our fund two, we are three managing partners. All three of us have built businesses before, from call it the garage phase as bootstrapped founders who built the product and subsequently raised capitals and had good outcomes. When you look at how AI is transforming the world, you can look at it from the consumer perspective, and that's today cloud or OpenAI is going to be the new browser, just the way Internet Explorer or Netscape Navigator had come about 25 years ago. So there's, from a consumer perspective, everyone can experience what used to happen on the browser is now happening on these LLM platforms, because you're getting the answers that you want. And if you wanted to go to a website where that source was, you also have those links available. E-commerce on these browsers is just around the corner. On the business to business side, you should look at these large language models as, at the platform level. They then need to be customized and fine-tuned to a specific business's workflow process to automate and improve or re-engineer that workflow. So what you're seeing happening today is what we call the AI assist mode. So you have a human and you have someone who's AI assisting that workflow. We see that progressing where many of the repetitive tasks, of course, are already starting to get eliminated with AI. But as we look at 5 years out, many of the outcomes will be autonomously generated by the AI layer, and the humans will create and will be pushing the envelope further to create new value-added services, new ways of generating revenue, as the level of trust in AI starts increasing.
Yeah. And trust is one of the major, I guess, there's pushback when it comes to trust in terms of, fake messages, automated messages, things of that nature. And then there's the use case to enhance people's lives as well as their careers and what they're doing in industry for speed to market. Do you foresee a bubble that may pop due to heavy saturation with LLMs, or the use case that may kind of explode at some point in the near future to where it could damage, trust in the industry?
I think, as you can imagine, any growth or innovation happens in waves. It's never linear. When you start seeing initial results, everyone rushes it, and you can call that, a bubble, and or a balloon. And whether the balloon deflates or pops is just a matter of market conditions. You see that in the real estate industry. You see that in the infrastructure, semiconductor space. Absolutely, there is no way we will escape the kind of growth that we will see
Inflection
without having
points.
these, yeah, without having some of these bubbles form, pop. But the net growth is definitely up and to the right.
Awesome. Yeah. So how has this trend impacted, your business or growth strategy when it comes to AI, new technology, software as a service?
So, our business is primarily centered around proprietary investment opportunity sourcing, and another topic that I know is very dear to your heart as well. So, how our business has fundamentally changed is, I think it's refined and evolved, where we are getting deeper and deeper with the leading academic and research institutes to both identify the next generation of talent that is thinking AI native. So, people who are young graduates who are just finishing college, we call them venture builders with high potential to create disruptive businesses. And also people coming out from faculty and research organization where the academic and fundamental research has been going on for decades and is at the forefront of fresh thinking, not just incremental thinking, what happens very often, but really fundamentally new technologies being brought to the market. So at one end, we are collaborating with the University of Chicago and an initiative called Third Coast Foundry, where once a year, 2 to 3 times a year, we have demo days, incubation events for university funded research, which is north of 10 to 20 billion dollars in any given year, being brought to market for people who want to create new ventures out of that research. And on the other extreme, we are working on something called the Venture Builder Series, which where we partner with companies like Anthropic. We had event in San Francisco. The last event that we had in San Francisco, we had over 1,000 venture builders who applied just to attend this event. We selected 150 based on a 20 question application. It was a 2 hour event. We had, after some introductory remarks from leaders from industries like Blackstone and Anthropic, we went into a venture building series where they got free code, cloud code credits, built something, and with people that they met at this event and presented it towards the end of the session. So activities like those where you have the next generation of entrepreneurs eager to build and disrupt, and next generation of businesses coming out from faculty led research. Those are some of the channels that lead into proprietary deal sourcing for us, or investment sourcing, and that has fundamentally changed the way we would invest compared to what we did, I would say, 7 to 8 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And for those that entrepreneurs out there that have the latest and greatest disruptive technology, what do you look for? How could they be better at getting the funding that they need, or finding the right investor?
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. I part of what I do with many of the incubators is run a series called How to Approach Investors, and it ends up being a combination of some pre materials and a 2-hour workshop where we work individually with each company depending on the background of the founders as to how to fine tune the messaging to investors. But the key ingredients are, if you look around, there's a 15 slide deck called a pitch deck, which covers the main points that you want to make sure are defensible. So one, get your story together. So when we meet with entrepreneurs, do we see if they've got their story together? And the second element that we look at, what is their unique, unfair competitive advantage? What is their right to win in the business that they are getting into? And that's really where the selection cycle, starts for us, where we're trying to evaluate the founding team, the vision, the track record, the trajectory. We're not so much concerned about their experience as we are concerned about their potential. So potential and trajectories matter more for us than a very loaded resume, and really trying to identify, can this group of founders build the next billion-dollar business in a very compressed time frame, typically 3 to 5 years of making an investment. So that's our prism of evaluating investable opportunities.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. Yeah. And that's really useful information. So can they find that in terms of how to do that on your website, or is that a different site?
To reach out to us or articulate their value proposition.
Articulate the value proposition, how they do their 15-page deck, their training or education.
Yeah.
So
We
yeah.
work with a lot of what we call as ecosystem partners. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes an ecosystem to raise a billion-dollar venture startup. We have some phenomenal ecosystem partners that specialize in doing just that. One of my favorites is Alchemist Chicago. It's a combination between Alchemist, the incubator, and University of Chicago's entrepreneurship program. There are others that we participate in programs like Tech Weekend, where I think it's going to happen this weekend, where it's 30 minutes, no obligation other than being prepared, coaching sessions, if you may call it, on their pitch deck. But I think if you kind of just dig a little bit deeper and just Claude or Chat GPT, the basic materials, many of our industry peers have also published their thinking on that. Some of that is there on our website, but it really is about kind of what's your story, what's your vision, what's your right to win.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. So what's working well for you right now, and what's been frustrating?
So what's working very well are, several of our investments that we made, I would say, in the time frame from 21 through 25, and many of the investments we made pre-Chat GPT benefited a lot from the kind of tailwinds we got from the Chat GPT moment, if you may. In 21, 22, this November of 22, one of them is Copy Leaks, which is a plagiarism detection software. When it started, so very vertically focused on one industry, the education vertical. And then, once AI came, plagiarism had the potential to, I can just do my homework assignments with a Chat GPT prompt, right? So detection of plagiarism through LLMs, and then of course, navigating that to video and image plagiarism in insurance claims, etc. So some of those investments that we made that were early applications of AI to switch the business model, improve the infrastructure, and kind of really turn the industry on its head, are working really well. What's frustrating is when our entrepreneurs give up. So the only way to guarantee failure is to stop trying and stop pivoting. It takes a few cycles of near-death experiences for the company before lasting enterprises can be created. And when entrepreneurs run out of steam, and usually for good reasons, after trying once, twice, or three times, but the market is disrupting, I think those are frustrating moments.
Yeah. Yeah. But is there certain metrics that you guys are focused on right now when it comes to improving, whether it's passive or active?
Passive or active investing or sourcing?
In investing, sourcing, deal flow, do you have anything in your portco that you guys are looking on improving for valuations? Give us the brass tacks on what you guys are looking to improve on.
I think it depends on the stage of the company. So when the company is, and we manage that carefully and how we invest. So when we just make our investment, the focus is on getting the product market fit. Once we've accomplished that product market fit and you're in the growth phase, it's about putting in financial rigor, financial discipline, plan versus actual measurements, making sure that your infrastructure for financial metrics and monitoring your unit economics is in place, and you have that data available readily to you so that you can scale intelligently. So depending on the stage of the company, some of those things change.
What do you want people to know about G2C Ventures? What's the unique value proposition? Why should they come to you or work with you versus others?
So I think AI is going to change the world as we know it. Every domain, every vertical will get restructured and re-engineered. Now the question becomes whether it gets done by the incumbents because they are able to change their business model, maybe a SaaS company or a dominant player, and become an AI native company, or is it a new native AI native business that's able to dominate the space. For example, one of our recent investments is in a company called Examine. They are looking to redo the role of a business analyst in buying commercial real estate. How we source these companies, how we nurture them and get great outcomes is what our firm is differentiated by. It comes through our in the ground experience of having built these kind of companies and delivered exits, and our investment track record of how we've been doing this successfully for the last 10 years. I think those are the things that stand out. If you look at 2025 Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies in America, 2 out of the 12 companies from our portfolio one received major accolades, being the fastest and 150th fastest company and being recognized as in the top 40 business leaders to watch for. So those are the things that our track record speaks for ourselves.
Yeah, awesome. So where do you want G2C Ventures to be in the next 6 to 12 months from now?
I think 6 to 12 months in our world is fairly short. I think it's going to be deploying capital and partnering with entrepreneurs. In 12 months, I think we would increase the number of investments that we have from 6 to around 18 portfolio companies that we are nurturing at the seed level to make them grow. And I think we're going to have some very exciting exits also coming in towards the second half of this year. And we want to get our brand awareness with the next generation of entrepreneurs. So we will have to do some work with people like you and on Instagram and various podcasts and other channels.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, outreach and brand awareness and just kind of being visible because times are changing. The transformation of wealth. There's new and upcoming companies. Millennials are starting to take advantage of the new market when it comes to tech and AI, and those who see the vision, if you will, they're going to take action. And there's definitely a lot to float around in the marketplace when it comes with AI, new tech, and other means of business and opportunities. So it's always good to make sure that people are keeping you top of mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's the sourcing business, if you may, is very similar to the business you do. You've got to have your proprietary deal sources. The moment a deal or an investment opportunity or an acquisition opportunity, in your case, comes to market and it comes to you, it's probably too late. So in our case, we get ahead of the point when the company is investable and ready to be invested in, maybe 6 months ahead, nurture those businesses, help them, like we talked about some of the activities we do with incubators. And so when they are ready to raise capital, we are not in some competitive bidding situation and valuation negotiation. It's a partnership discussion because they know us, they know who we are, how we help them. I think that's the unique sauce is how do we source our deals, because we can't make the best investments if we can't see the best investments.
Yeah, true. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Growth Experts Podcast. Sunil, managing partner at G2C Ventures. If you want to check out his information, his website will be listed in the description below. That's G2C Ventures growthxperts.com. Thank you so much for your time, Sunil.
Thank you, Derek. It was a blast.
Awesome. And for those of you who are watching this video now and stayed to the end for the Growth Experts podcast, don't forget to subscribe and like this video and drop us a hashtag GXP. Thanks for watching.